What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe, and today I would like to introduce you to a new series called RL State of Mind. It's a series that talks about the mental side of Rocket League. When people think of Rocket League, they usually think of raw mechanics, fast aerials, flip resets, perfect touches. And of course, all of that matters, but I think a lot of people don't realize that Rocket League is a mental game more than a mechanical one. I mean, sure, you can grind training packs for hours, but if your mindset and your mentality is off, if you tilt, hesitate, doubt yourself, or overthink, your mechanics will not be enough to save you. And I think that's what separates the top 1% of players from the rest. It's not just that they're more skillful and that they're faster. It's really more about how they think and how they focus, how they recover mentally, how they respond to pressure, right? I think all of that is the difference between a good player and a great player. And that's why I started this series, because I believe it's an extremely important and criminally overlooked part of the game. So, in this first episode, we're diving into a concept that seems really simple on the surface, but is really, truly hard to master. And that concept is single-mindedness. First things first, let's define the concept. What is single-mindedness? Single-mindedness doesn't mean having only one thing on your mind, right? In Rocket League, especially at a high level, your brain is constantly tracking dozens of different variables, right? Your positioning, your opponent's intentions, the boost pads, the rotations, the way the ball will bounce. There's so many variables, right, that you're constantly, every second, analyzing and tracking. So your mind is racing and the game is going, 100 miles an hour, right? It's not easy to be single-minded in that situation. But it is single-mindedness that lets you act with clarity in the middle of all that mess, all that noise, right? It's basically the ability to focus on what's in front of you and make a decision, right? And then follow through on that decision without second-guessing it at all. No panic, no hesitation, right? No looking around for permission. It's doing what you mean and meaning what you do. So if you're single-minded and you're focused, you're not thinking, what if I'm wrong? You're thinking, to the best of my knowledge, to the best of my thinking, this is the best decision right now. Let's find out if I'm right. You're not frozen by doubt or worried about blame. You're making the play because it's the right play for you right now. Whether it works or not is secondary. What matters is that you were all in that moment, right? So what does this look like in Rocket League? Well, single-mindedness shows up in a lot of small ways, and usually you can feel it before you even notice. So, for example, if you're rotating back and you see a gap between the opponent that has the ball and the player that's supposed to be challenging on your team, and you don't hesitate to cut the rotation and challenge, right? Because it's the right read on that play. And you know in your mind and in your heart that it's the right read. You're not thinking about it, you're just doing it. It's instinctive. Or if you're last man and, instead of panicking or stalling, you make a confident play on the ball, right? You're defending proactively. Win or lose, this is what I'm doing. A very important thing to note about single-mindedness is that it's not about playing recklessly or forcing everything in the game. It's just about dealing with that inner hesitation, that little what if that creeps in and ruins a good idea that you had, right? That fear of being wrong, or receiving blame or overcommitting, right? It's about dealing with those thoughts. And I think you feel that most when you hesitate, right? So when you hesitate and you try to do too much, you end up doing nothing, right? Or when you second guess a challenge and do like a little, half challenge and you end up getting dunked. Or when you rotate behind your teammate, even though you know they're not going to go, right? Because maybe they have low boost or something, and now you're both in an awkward spot, right? That's exactly what the opposite of single-mindedness is. Yeah, that's letting doubt be in control. The best players in the world, the professionals, they don't always make the right play, but they always make a real play, right? They always make a decision with true intent behind it. And that's why it works so often. Now, let's get into the tricky part of this concept, right? I think it's the most difficult part of it, and I think it's the part that a lot of people struggle with, and I certainly struggled a lot with. And it's that most of the time, hesitation doesn't feel like fear. It feels like thoughtfulness, right? Like you think you're being careful, smart and calculated. But most of the time, in reality, you're actually scared to commit. You're afraid of being wrong. And unfortunately, Rocket League is a game that punishes that fear really hard, right? So if you hesitate and you take your time and you don't go for it, the opponents are just gonna see that and they're gonna dunk you every time, right? Now I know this for a fact because I've been that player. I've been the one that holds back, plays it safe and ultimately ends up waiting too long. And what I realize is that it actually doesn't feel safe at all. It feels passive, feels powerless. And it feels like you're reacting to the game instead of actually shaping it yourself. And I agree that there are some moments where you have to be reactive, right, to the play. But even if you're doing that, being reactive out of fear and out of hesitation, it's still, you're just kind of just going along with it because you're afraid and you're hesitating, right? And that's the point of single-mindedness, is that it flips that. It makes your decisions be truly yours. You're doing them with true intent. So, how does one become more single-minded? It's not just about confidence, right? It's about building trust in yourself over time, right? Like knowing that your instinct and your decision making and your experience will get you through, right? You know that you're ultimately going to make the right decision without even thinking about it that much. Now, if that sounds a little too abstract, here's a few tips that helped me with this. The first tip is to decide early, right? Most hesitation comes from indecision, right? The earlier you read and commit to a play, the more power you give it, even if it's not the perfect option, right? Indecision makes you really slow and awkward and ultimately very easy to read for the opponents. The second tip is to simplify your goals, right? If you're going into a match with 5 things on your checklist that you have to do, you're guaranteed to overthink. So just pick one focus, Maybe this game I want to be better at fast challenges or better comms or back post rotations or demo presence, right? Just pick one thing and then focus on that, and that will bring you clarity for the whole game, right? Third, and probably most importantly, live with your choices, right? You are not going to make the right play every time. No player in the history has done that, right? And that's totally fine. What matters is that you finish the play. Let it play out. Don't do something like panic mid-air and backflip, or bail halfway through a push, something like that. Do what you meant to do, and then look back and learn from it. And that's exactly what the fourth tip is. Review your replays, right? And don't just look for goals or misses, right? Look for those in-between moments, right? The times when you thought you were about going and then you didn't go, or the times that you went quick, or the times that you slowed down and rotated. This kind of thing is the thing that you're supposed to analyze and see and learn from it, right? And the fifth and final tip, let go of being perfect. Don't think about being perfect. The truth is that confidence doesn't come from always getting it right. It actually comes from acting boldly and owning the outcome. So no matter what happens, I own this. And that's exactly the way that you learn fast and build your instincts. And when you do that enough, you end up, you stop playing scared. You get more confidence. That's it for this episode of RL State of Mind. If any of this clicked with you, or if you've been dealing with hesitation or second guessing in your own game, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how you've been handling it or what helps you lock in. This series is still new and I want to grow it in the right direction. So if you've got any ideas, feedback, or topics you'd like to see covered, drop them below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.